Hey everyone, good morning and good evening. Let's start with today's session and let's see what exactly we are doing today. Okay, quick recap. Last time, what exactly we did? Last time we were created the first build pipeline using YAML script. That is what we did last time, correct? Taking it further, that was just a build what we did. Taking it further, we'll be creating deployments now. Okay, let me just go through the pipeline again because it's been a gap now. Okay, let's go to the pipeline. This was a YAML pipeline what we have created. This is what we did. Created a trigger, the image, the agent pool. This is the variables what we have defined. Post which we have the first step wherein we were doing the deployment, installing NuGet, running the NuGet restore, running the build, copying ARM template files, publishing the artifact. Okay, this is what we have written. And basically this is what exactly it is doing. It is creating a build, the build which we did using YAML. Now this is what previously we did using Classic. Now the same thing we did using YAML also. Now this was just build, guys. Okay. Now we have releases also. Now this is the release what we have created last time. These are the two tasks what we have. One is which is basically creating the web app for me. The second is wherein the deployment is happening. These are the two tasks which I need to be part of my YAML script. Okay. So how do I add this? So last time we have used Visual Studio to build this YAML pipelines. I can go back to the Visual Studio and I can start building the YAML from there. Or else, if I want, I can use the editor which I am getting with Azure DevOps. So basically, guys, this is an editor also. Like this is more like your Visual Studio, wherein you are using the plugins. If I want, I can have use the editor over here also. Like if I want to have a publish task, I can use the. It's very similar what you are doing at the Visual Studio. So there could be a possibility in your companies that you may not get option to download Visual Studio Code. It happens due to some restrictions. In that case, you can come directly to Azure DevOps and you can use this editor. Okay, so for today release, I'll be using this editor and we'll take this further. Okay, anyone have any questions, any doubt? Anyone tried? Because we had a good amount of time in between. So did anyone try running this build? Anyone tried creating this build pipeline using YAML, guys? Okay, no one?
We didn't get that far. We tried, but we're still on the classic.
Okay, cool, no problem. Okay, before we jump on and start creating and start adding more steps, more tasks to it, there are few things which we need to understand. Okay, we need to understand what exactly is life cycle hooks. Okay, so in life cycle hooks, basically, now whatever steps you do, whatever execution you do using YAML, now this will be converted as lifecycle hooks. What exactly those are? There are pre-hooks, pre-deployment hooks. What do you understand with this pre-deployment hooks? So this is basically this. If you have anything defined inside pre-deployment hooks, this will run the step before initializing the actual deployment. Now just imagine you are deploying something to your web server. Now before you deploy the web server, you want to start that service. start Apache. Imagine you want to deploy something to your web server. So you want to make sure that the Apache is deployed. Apache is started. Okay, so that comes into your pre-deployment hooks. Then you got something called deployment hooks. This is where your actual deployment will happen. So this is where the step that you deploy your application. So where you deploy your application. Same way you will have post deployment hooks. After the deployment is done, like if you have something called post deploy. Post deploy is basically what will happen once your deployment is done. If you want to execute any step, what step it could be? Take the same example of Apache, restarting your application, restarting Apache. Okay, so pre-deploy is basically doing any step prior deployment. Post deploy is where your deployment happens. Post deploy is if you want to do anything after the deployment. Okay, and there are multiple others hooks also, guys, such as on failure, on success. Like on failure, what needs to be done? If the deployment fails, what you want to do? Similarly, you got something called on success. Like on success, do you want to do anything else? So these are all what. So there are many hooks. I'm just giving you few example. I'll share you the Microsoft documentation where you will get all this information. But these are some hooks, lifecycle hooks, which you will be using inside your YAML scripts. Now, when you add deployment steps, at that time you will be using all this. Okay, these are lifecycle hooks. Now let's talk about strategy, deployment strategy. Okay, now what exactly is deployment strategy? Let's talk about that. So deployment strategy is basically it's the way how your deployment will happen. Now there are three different type of strategy what Microsoft YAML pipeline support. The one is run one strategy. Run one strategy is the simplest deployment strategy wherein all the life cycle hooks are executed at least once. So this is simplest deployment strategy wherein all life cycle hooks, all life cycle hooks are executed once. Executed once. Now, what do I mean by this? So this is a life cycle hook. Suppose in your deployment you have defined pre-hook, pre-deploy, deploy, post-deploy, on failure. So what will happen with run one strategy? All these hooks will at least get executed once. So it will start with pre-hook, it will do the deployment, it will do the post-deploy, and then it will exit out. It will not happen that after the pre-hook itself it will exit out. It will simply go and run all the hooks, whatever hooks you have defined inside your YAML file, everything will be executed. Run once in the run once strategy. So again, repeating, run once is the simplest deployment strategy wherein all the lifecycle hooks are executed once. Okay, and this is by default. This is a strategy which gets executed. Now that is run once for you. The other is rolling deployment strategy. Now the word rolling means it will automatically roll your previous version to the newer version. So a rolling deployment strategy replaces instance of the previous version with instance of a new version on a fixed set of virtual machine. Replaces instance of previous with new on fixed set of VMs. That is what rolling means. VMs. So if you have a version 1.0, this is your resource group. In this resource group, you got multiple VMs, 3 VMs. Okay, in this, there are currently version 1.0 running on all these VMs. On all these VMs. With rolling deployment strategy, what it will do, it will go and get you the new version. Now, suppose I'm just adding the new version. This circle is, imagine this is a new configuration which is getting added. Now it will get updated from version 1.10 to version 1.1. This is what rolling will do. Automatically it will go and replace the previous version on with a new version. Now this is a new version which got deployed, and this will be eventually will be removed. New deployment. So this is what rolling means. Okay, currently this rolling deployment strategy is only supported for VM resources, guys. So if you have any question that will it work on other like containers, Kubernetes and things like that? So it will not work. This rolling deployment strategy, we don't have it on those for now. Okay, Kubernetes and everything has a different strategies. That is something we'll talk about when we reach to the Kubernetes section. For now, this is what the deployment strategy it is, rolling means. Okay, so in a rolling, what will happen, typically it will wait for deployment on each set of your virtual machine to complete before proceeding to next set of deployment. Now what will happen, what does this statement means? Now this is one set. So on this set, the deployment will happen successfully first. When this set is successful, like it got deployed successfully, you guys have tested, everything looks good, the application is up and running, then the next deployment, then the next stage will happen. Just imagine there are 5 servers, so it will basically divide it into 2 to 1. That is what rolling means. Okay, last but not the least, we got canary, the third deployment strategy. It is canary. Now the canary is nothing but it's a advanced deployment strategy that helps mitigate the risk involving rolling out new version of an application. Now what will happen with canary, you can roll out changes to small subset of server first, and as you gain more confidence with the new version, you release it to more servers. Now what we were doing with this guy, rolling deployment strategy, that we were clubbing multiple servers together. Now with canary in place, what exactly we'll do, we'll release things to a small set. So we'll release, for example, we'll release to this server first. Okay, we'll release a new version to this server and to a specific list of users. Basically in canary, we'll have small set of servers along with specific users wherein we'll be releasing the new version. And once we gain confidence that this looks good and the deployment is successful, we'll eventually move on to other set of servers. This way, this will keep on updating. And this is what canary means. Okay, so canary is basically, it's an advanced strategy advanced strategy, okay, which will roll out changes to small set of servers first. Once you gain confidence, then you will move on to different things. Now these are very important topics. Life cycle hooks, basically all your steps. Now whatever steps, whatever task you will be defining in your YAML, that will be under life cycle hooks now. Okay. Deployment strategy, you'll be using either of one, either run once, rolling, or canary. It's up to you, depending upon your project, what project you're working on. Depending upon the project, you'll be using the lifecycle hooks. Okay. Now, let me show you the official documentation so that you can go refer it for more update. So, Azure DevOps deployment strategy. Yeah, here we go. See, deployment strategies, lifecycle hooks. What are the different lifecycle hooks? Run once deployment strategy, rolling deployment strategy, then we got canary. That's it. Now this is what something you can go with, and you can just go through it and you'll come to know. Okay. Now there will be a change, guys. When you're adding deployment strategy to your YAML, this YAML will get changed. Now as if now if you'll see, this is only steps. Now you want to add multi-stage deployment. Now you want to have a build. Along with build, you want to do a release also now in the same YAML file. So this steps things will not work basically. This steps things is basically if you want to just run a list of steps, then this is very good. You can go with this. But now you want to do deployment also in the same YAML file. So we need to write something called stages. Now, if you go back to this deployment strategy documentation, this is how your strategies are defined. Okay. Now these strategy will be defined under stages. Now this is not something I'm saying it for myself. Now this is what you have defined stages over here. If you see at the top what exactly it is, stages, correct? So this stages needs to be defined inside a YAML also. Same goes with build. If you see this build pipeline, YAML, this is all your tasks which you have defined, that all this task needs to be part of your stages now. Now stages, when exactly do we use stages? When you have multi-stage deployment, when you're doing a build and you're doing a deployment all in one place, then in that case you need to define everything as stages. Okay. Now how the stages structure will look like. So now nothing different will happen. What we were doing, what did we do last time? We had steps, correct? This is steps. In the steps we had something called task, in which we had NuGet installer task. Then we had tasks such as NuGet restore task, correct? NuGet restore command task and XYZ. This is how, and then we had something called task build. Now with stages, what will happen? We'll have the same set of tasks. There's nothing changing in the task. The only thing will happen is at the top, I'll have something called stages now. Okay. Inside this stage, I'll have multiple stage now. I'll have first stage. This is what we are doing right now. We are doing a build, correct? So this is my build stage. Okay. Now in the build stage, all these steps will come inside the build stage. Now this becomes child process of my, all this what becomes, it becomes child process of my build stage. Now build stage, we could have multiple more information, like if you want to give a display name. Display name is like a print statement, guys. Wherever you want, you can give this display name. Basically, when you run the pipeline, it will show what exactly stage is running, what exactly task is running. So display name is like a print statement. So wherever you want, you can give it. It is completely optional, but it is always suggested to use. Okay, this is build stage. Similarly, in build, when you define build stage, there are jobs in build stage. Okay, so in build stage, there are jobs. So we have to have written as jobs in. Okay, so what kind of job you want to run? So I'm running a build job. That is something you need to define. What type of job it is? Build job. Again, if you want to give a display name, so this display name basically will be visible outside. Like when you go inside this logs, this display name will be visible somewhere over here. Do you see jobs over here? In build, it is jobs. Correct? Nothing different. Whatever is written over here, that is what I'm defining inside my YAML. Now this job I'm defining over here. Now this name, display name, what you will give, over here the display name what you're giving, it's nothing but this will be visible when your pipeline will get executed, it will be visible over here. So this is completely optional. Yeah. Anyone has any question, guys? No question, then kindly put yourself on mute. Shisha, question? Sunil, I think. Okay. Okay, understood, guys. This is extra line of code which is getting added. You're just defining stage, jobs, and all your steps basically will come inside it. If required, individual agent pools as well. Now, if you want for this particular build, if you want to have a dedicated agent pool, so you can define that agent pool inside this jobs itself. Now, many of you will ask, why do you need a dedicated agent pool over here? Now, your build, the build which is happening, like suppose in your build, you need a specific agent pool on which the build should get executed. Why? Could be XYZ reason, like you have an application and those application dependencies are installed on that agent pool, and because of which you want to execute this particular job on that agent pool itself. This could be one of the scenario. The second scenario would be you want to do parallel execution. There are multiple jobs which is getting executed in your YAML and you want to do parallel execution. So you are assigning agent pool to per build of yours. In that case, you'll need dedicated agent pool, or else could be a scenario wherein this build is will take more time to build. Like it may take around 10-20 minutes to build. So you don't want to get this build involved into all your basic builds which is running, because that will what will happen in such cases, when this build is getting executed, all your jobs are in waiting state. Could be any reason. Okay, so this is just scenarios which I'm giving you right now. So this is how, which stages your build will happen. Same goes with, now this is your build stage. Now same goes with your release stage. Now same thing happen over here. Now the release has multiple tasks, correct? What could be the release task? That it will be steps again. See, things are exactly the same, only the difference is these line of codes I'm going to add in my YAML file. Okay. Now what are the steps? The first task in release, that is we are running ARM template. Okay. The second task in release, it is we are running web app deployment, Azure web app deployment. Now if I want to add this into stages, I'll have stage. This time I'll have release stage. Okay. Now I can give a display name again. I can have, now all these tasks will come inside release stage. I can give a display name. Give whatever display name you want, again optional it is. I just name it as release stage. Now I'll have jobs over here again. So the jobs again, even in release we got jobs, guys. Like unlike we have a jobs over here, even in release when you go, these are basically jobs. Okay. These are basically, if you go these stages, what you see, these are all deployment stage, and these are under jobs. Okay. So that is what we are doing, nothing different. Over here, the only difference is the jobs are not called as build jobs. The jobs are called as deployment over here. The jobs are called as deployment. What it is called as deployment. That is something it will differ from. This is how Azure DevOps will come to know that this is the build job and this is a deployment job. This is how the differentiation happens in reality. Okay. If you want to have a dedicated agent pool over here also, it's up to you. If you don't give a dedicated agent pool, what will happen? The agent pool which you define at the very top, that agent pool will be used if you're not defining. So this is completely optional, up to you if you want to have it. If you want to define an agent pool, that agent pool will come over here. Okay. It's up to you if you want to define it or not. Okay. Now your environments defined over here. After this, under the jobs, you'll be having environments defined, like how did we define dev environment, QA environment, and things like that. That environment will be defined over here. Without environment, the deployment will not happen, guys. Just keep that in mind. You will have your environment, whatever environment it is, dev, QA, and things like that. And under environment, you will be defining your deployment strategy. We spoke about 3 deployment strategy: run once, canary, rolling. That strategy will be defined over here. Without strategy, the deployment will not happen. That strategy will be defined over here. For example, I'll be using run once. Okay. Now I spoke about hooks. Under the deployment strategy, you will have your lifecycle hooks defined. So do we have any pre-deploy, post-deploy, anything as such? No. What do we have? We just have one hook as if now, that is deploy. I'll be using deploy hook, wherein and all my task under the deploy hook, all my step will come. It will come like this way. It will come like this way. Understood? This is what did we do? Again, added a stage, display name. What is this? Jobs we are executing. We are executing deployment jobs, using a dedicated VM for my jobs, setting up environment. This is for my dev environment, and I'm using a strategy called run once. What is the hook I'm using? So it's not necessary that always you will use pre-hook, post-hook, everything you'll use. It's not necessary, guys. I don't have any pre-hook, post-hook, on failure, anything as such steps in my YAML. So I'm just using one hook over here, deployment hook. Under deployment hooks, I'm getting all my I'm getting all my tasks added. Understood? This looks different when you're like, doing it for the very first time, when you're learning it for the very first time, guys. But you need to practice this. You need to do it once. This is just a template which I've showed you. This
I
is
have a
something I'll
question.
be. Yep, tell me.
So why is the task, the ARM template and the Azure web app
Hmm?
coming before the pre-hook and all of the other uh, uh, jobs, like this the staging and the environment and all that? Why is it coming? Why is the task the the ARM template and the Azure web? Why is it the last in this script?
Okay, it's last because these are setup what you're doing right now. This is build. Okay. Once your build is successful, then only you will have the artifact created. Okay. You will have your artifact created over here, then only you can do a deployment. You cannot run this deployment first because till the time this stage is not successful, this is multi-stage deployment what we're doing right now. Till the time this stage, your build stage is not successful, you will not have your artifact created. Artifact is nothing but it's a basically it's a output file which can be deployed where your application will be residing. Once that is created over here, once that is successful, then only you can come to the release section and you can run this task. Now, if that is your question, then this is the sequence we need to follow.
So when you run this task and then all of this agent, like the build, the artifact, and all of that will then copy the result from the task. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. That is what we'll refer. When I go and add this task, I'll show you how exactly things will get. So artifact which is getting created over here. So there's one more task over here. Basically, it's a publish task wherein we are putting things into the drop location, if you remember from here.
Yeah.
So how do we reference the drop location over here? That is something I'll show you. Don't worry.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. The only thing which we are adding from the previous pipelines, guys, these are the things what we are adding. And these are the things remain same when you are running any other pipelines also. Nothing will change. The only difference will you find the strategy will differ. You may have pre-hook. I can also add pre-hook over here, guys. If I want this ARM template task to be part of my pre-hook, I can even do that. I can have something like over here. I can have pre-deployment hooks and I can have steps over here. I can add my task over here, ARM. And then is also accepted. This is also accepted. If you go, nothing different. Do you see this strategy? This is rolling strategy which is getting used over here. Do you see the steps? Pre-deployment hook, deployment hook. Do you see these line of codes? Exactly same. Am I doing something different? Exactly same. On failure, see, you got on failure steps. So if any of my task fails, what do I need to do? If you want to add something like this, even that can be added over here. Now let's not waste time. Let's go back. This is, and let's try start writing this all. Okay, in actual pipeline now. Okay. Now what I'll do, I'll just go and start putting the same thing which I was doing on my notepad. Okay. Then you'll understand more. It will make more sense. I'll just add stages. Okay. We got stages over here. Now in stages, the first stage is what did I say? Build stage. I can give a display name. It's completely optional, but always suggested to give display name wherever it is possible. Because if something fails, you'll come to know where exactly it is failing. I name it as build stage over here. Then what did I say in build? It is jobs, and in job it is called as job itself. So you can have what kind of job it is. It's a build job. This naming convention should be same, guys. By this naming convention, my YAML will understand what exactly it is. So this name, you cannot put anything else over here. You need to put build over here. If you're doing a build, then build. If you're doing a deployment, then you need to add deployment. Keep that in mind. I can have a display name. This is again optional, but I'll show you the importance of display name when my build will start running. Build. Then I can have my agent pool. It's up to you if you want to define an agent pool. I have given the scenarios in which cases you will be having using the scenario. If you're not defining the agent pool, no worries. The agent pool which is over here, this will be used. Okay. So I can have agent pool over here, VM image. I can have the same agent pool, Windows 2019. Okay, and all my steps. Now my steps are not changing, guys. All my steps, this exactly the same steps. I'll put it inside jobs. Let me see if it is inside jobs now. Yeah, this is exactly at the right place now. Okay, my build is ready. Did we do anything extra? I'm not even touching the task which we have. This is something we have added on Friday. Okay, so the only thing is I have added this few line of codes. Okay, and then I just added my task in steps inside it. Run, my build is ready. Same way I can do a release also. Come down, come over here. Have one more stage and name it as release. Okay, display name. I can have release stage. I can have jobs. I can have jobs. The job, the difference is over here we have deployment. See, automatically I'm getting an output that's a deployment. Selected deployment. Come down if I want to add a pool. I can have VM image over here again. The same thing I can define. Windows latest. I'm using Windows because it is ASP.NET application. If it's not ASP.NET application, then I would have used Ubuntu or CentOS or things like that. Okay. Now what else? Environment. I'll talk about this environment in great details, guys. For now, let's define the environment over here. Dev. Did we spell environment wrong? No, there's extra space over here. Okay. Now strategy, we can have the strategy C. The strategy part is over here. Now if I come down, there are three different types of strategy: canary, loading, run once. So run once. I can have deploy. See, pre-deploy, deploy. I can have deploy. There's nothing such post-deploy, guys. I have mentioned post-deploy over here. Just for example, I have mentioned over here. Okay, there's nothing such post-deploy. It's only that on failure, if you want to run any task, you can use on failure or on success. That is something you can use it. Okay, just keep that in mind. I've showed post-deploy just to give you a glimpse what exactly pre-deploy, post-deploy, and things happens. Just to give you that glimpse. Now all my steps will come over here. So what are the steps? The first step is running ARM task, ARM template task. Okay, let's go over here. Look for ARM task. Now it will ask for connection. It's the same thing, exact same thing what you did in Classic. This is the same task I'm calling over here. Selecting your service connection, everything, calling the resource group, everything. See, selecting this, selecting your subscription, action, create an update, resource group. We do have a resource group, but I don't want to use this one. We need to create a resource group. How did we create a resource group? We defined a variable, correct? How do we define variable? How do we define variable in YAML? I showed you last time, correct? We can have the variable defined in the variable section. Can we do it? Yes, we can definitely do it. What is the name of the variable? Let's have this option over here. Have this value defined over here. Perfect, done. Now in YAML, there are multiple places wherein you can define variable. But the one which I have added just now, this is the best place to add variables, guys, because this can be reused and this variable becomes part of your repository. But if you see at the top, there's an option to define variable over here also. But if you're defining variable over here, this will be this will be available only for this pipeline. Okay, so this is the best place wherein you can add variables. Just keep that in mind. Now you can add location East US, linked artifact. Now the question was how my stage will come to know, how will my stage refer to the drop location? That was the question. Now over here, how do we refer in my task? There was a section called system default working directory. Basically, this is the location where your drop location is created, drop folder is created. And now you go over here and you just reference it. Now, can we use the same thing in over here? So the answer is no, that will not work. That works only with Classic. This system default working directory only works with Classic. This will not work. If you try to copy paste this entire thing over here also in YAML, you will get error. So what is the location you can go and reference? Let me go to the predefined variable section again. And there is a other predefined variable which you can use, pipeline workspace. Pipeline workspace is basically the local path on the agent where all folders for a given build pipeline are created. The local path on the agent where all folders for the given build pipeline are created. To be very specific, this is over here. Workspace directory for a particular pipeline. The same like agent build directory. So this is the part which you need to use. Okay. If you're using YAML, you need to use pipeline workspace. Okay. What do you need to use? Pipeline workspace. Come down, copy this part, come over here. How do you call a variable? Dollar open bracket close bracket pipeline workspace. Now in this you go to drop folder. In this you want to use ARM templates, correct? So I don't know where exactly it is, so I'll do star star. And what is the name of my template? This one. I'll just call this. Not entirely this one. That's it. We all know what this star star will do. It will go and look for the levels where exactly this file is. Similarly, we can have for my parameters also. I can have this for my parameters also. That's it. Override parameters, very similar to what we had it over here. If you want to have more variables defined, if you want to have multi-stage deployment, then you can make use of this override parameters. See this. If you want to use the exact same thing, you need to go and start defining variables, guys. Like, let me use it for you. See over here. Now you need to go and define the variables, guys. You have to be very sure that you're doing it right. What all things we have used? We have used service plan. So let's go to service plan. We go to service plan. What else we have? Web app name. Let's have a web app name defined over here. Okay, let's align this. Let's have it in inverted comma and consider this as a string. Okay, done. We have defined the variables. We got my ARM task. Now I just have come down. Make sure you are at the right place. Done. Added. This is your ARM task which got added. Similarly, you can have your one more task added. What is the task? Web app deployment task, correct? This task. Let's have it. Azure web app. See, deploy Azure app service of mobile app API using .NET Course. Okay, this is the one which we want. Well, like see, app service name. You are given the app service name over here, correct? In the variable, you have defined the app service name. App service name. So I'll just call this dollar open bracket close bracket app service name. Okay. Now it is looking for system default working directory. Again, this will not work. This works only in classic. So in place of system default working directory, what you need to have pipeline workspace. Remember this, guys. That's why I've shared this pipeline links with you, because this is something you'll be using a lot. Pipeline workspace. And zip is okay. It will go to my drop location and it will look for a .zip file. That is totally fine. That's it. Come down, make sure you're at the right place. Add this task. I was not at the right place. Wait, let's add the task again. Let's copy this name only. Okay, now let's come down over here, then add the task. Why error? Bad indentation mapping error. Just a sec, guys. This is indentation error which we are getting. This is because some spacing issue. Don't worry, we'll get this fixed. And all thanks to this plugin which we are using, because of which we are not getting the error. We are getting the error. Perfect. Looks good. Let me add this extra spaces over here. Okay, so this is what YAML is all about, guys. Indentation and spacing. Now the error is gone. Now can I execute this pipeline? Let's see. Everything is written. How many line of codes we have written? Around 80 line of codes. Save this. My pipeline would have been executing now. Now do you see stages over here at the top? Stages. Do you see this is your build stage in queue? Then you got your release stage. Now do you see the importance of display name? Now because you have given the display name, that's why you're trying to hover, then you can see what exactly is happening. If just imagine if there's no display name, you will not get anything. You'll just see running. Okay. So all thanks to display name. Come down. Do you see this build written over here? This is the display name we have given inside the jobs. Correct? That's why I was saying display name. Now this is how it is looking. Now you can see what jobs are getting executed. Build job is getting executed. Now if you come to stages, this is your first stage. That's why we have written stages. Do you see we have written stages at the top? This is your first stage, then you got your release stage. So whatever we have written in YAML, that is not just for time pass, guys. We have written it for so that we can get those information, and anyone viewing your pipeline will know what's happening. Suppose you're creating the pipeline, and if you're sharing this pipeline with developers, anyone, if the developer is viewing a pipeline, they will come to know what exactly happening right now. Where are we? Where are we stuck? Which stage is running and things like that. Everything they will come to know. See, it is asking for permission. My build is completed. If you see this, my build is completed. If you come down at the top, there's a drop location created. We got the zip file created. Okay. Now it is asking for permission because it is going to create uh, Azure web app. That's why it is asking for permission. Let's go to this, click on view and permit it. See, it is creating dev environment and it will be deploying things on the web app which will be created using ARM template now. Now if you see this, everywhere the build stage, you got this build. Now you got your release stage running. See, your release stage has started running. The second is deploy. We have mentioned deploy. So your deployment started adding. It's happening. Now this is all happening using YAML. Now this YAML becomes part of your repository. Now if you share this YAML with anyone, if you share this repository with anyone, they can have access to your YAML. And if they want to contribute to your YAML, they can directly go and clone this on their local and they can contribute. Okay. So that's the beauty of writing everything as YAML. This is the exact same thing we did using your release and this build pipeline over here using classic method. Now the exact same thing we did using now YAML method. Now if you see the ARM deployment is happening right now. Now what you need to do, what will be your takeaway task? Now we have just created one environment. What we did, we just created one environment over here. That is a dev environment. Okay. Now I want you guys to create a QA environment in the same file. How will you do it? Firstly, you need to go and define all the variables at the top. For the QA, you need to define the variables at the top. And then what you need to do extra is copy this entire step, have this step added over here. Add one more step, change this to QA and have all your variables also changed. You will be defining the variables at the top. Make sure the variables is also updated. That's it. You got your QA ready. This is a takeaway task for you. So make sure you have multi-stage, dev, QA, and all this you need to define it by yourself. Try it. If not, and let me know if you're able to do it successfully. If not, then I'll show you again, don't worry. Okay, understood the takeaway task? Okay, now if you go to the release stage, your ARM deployment was successful. Now your web app deployment is also successful, guys. See, everything has happened. If I go back, this is the URL. I can go and access my web app. Waiting for the browser to come up. Welcome to DevSecOps course. Make sense? Anyone? Any questions? Any doubt? No worries. I'll be sharing this YAML file with you. Again, the last time how I share, I'll share it on the group itself. Make sure to practice this as soon as possible, because the Java application, the next Java application which will start from tomorrow, that is completely based on YAML. I'll not be using Classic because most of the time you'll be using YAML in your actual world. In the real world scenario, you'll be using YAML. So even the Java I will do using YAML based only. So I'll be sharing this file with you, whatever we have created today. I want you guys to practice this. If you don't practice, there's a great chance that you may not understand anything for the upcoming projects. Okay,
Yeah,
that's it for
hi,
me.
Rohit.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, so I have not created means the previous all these tasks that you have learned. So can I directly start with the YAML? Means yesterday
Class.
I have tried to I have started a project and then how I start to run this code and all this thing in Azure DevOps for the
Okay.
YAML.
Okay. Perfect. You can do it. So you're saying that you have not used Classic till now. So you just want to
Yeah,
at least start with YAML. No problem, Prashant. If you're comfortable, because frankly speaking, YAML is something you'll be using in real world scenario mostly.
yeah, means I am asking means how I can start means can you please show me a demo means
Okay. Did you see my Friday video?
Friday? Yeah,
Yeah, just go one video back, because over there you'll understand how exactly this build was initially created.
okay.
Because
So
over
this is
there I have
not for the
given,
classic.
no, this is Friday video, just one video back. If you go, or from there I have started with YAML.
Okay.
So just go one video back before starting today's session. Go one video back, watch that video, you'll understand how exactly I've written this initial YAML file, and then you can watch today's video again. You'll understand. If not, let me know. I'll explain you again. Okay,
Okay, thanks.
no problem. Anyone else, guys? Okay, no worries. Take away. I'll just share this YAML file again with you guys for your reference. But make sure create your own, and we'll meet from tomorrow onwards. We'll start with a different application. That's a Java Spring Boot Maven application. That is something we'll start with. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye bye.